What is next here? Should we watch the Morphologis video talking about VR, since our friend and Supermod Oz is talking about how he just hooked his up with Steam and is just blown away by it? Let's check it out. Let's hear what Morph has to say about VR. We've covered this, covered it when it first came out. This is another thing we theory crafted way back in the day, and everybody said, oh, DG, it's feature creep. How dare you? It's going to take them forever to do this.
Well, Star Citizen VR was definitely not on my bingo card list for 2025, but here we are, and it's been dropped as an experimental feature in the latest PTU patch 4.5, and looks to also be going into live before the end of this year. So if you've got a VR headset or you're thinking about getting one, well, you've got something to look forward to before the year's done. But I'm not just looking forward to it, I've already been checking it out over this past weekend. There's only one big problem, and that there's an inherent limitation in trying to show you guys Star Citizen VR through a standard video format, because no matter how much footage I put to you here on screen, you're still only seeing it in two-dimensional representation, and that's gonna feel, well, a little bit flat for you guys. So I'm gonna do my best here to communicate just how incredible it has been, how much immersion it's added to the experience of a game that's already incredibly immersive on its own in just the standard 2D format that we've gotten used to. And I'll try to
Did he put that helmet on his booty cheek? Sorry, that's a reference for people who don't understand watching on YouTube. We just watched a YouTube channel where the man was very excited that the helmet went on the booty cheek. A lot of people were in the dark on that comment. They don't understand what's happening because they weren't here on the live show. But yes, in fact, for everybody live that understands that particular kind of under the covers joke, the man did put the helmet on his booty cheek.
Show you how stepping out in some of the ships I've known and flown for years, walking through their interiors that I know by heart at this point, and looking out over planets and stations from inside the cockpit has given me a renewed appreciation for just how much attention Star Citizen puts into proportions, detailing, and scale. It's one thing to know a ship is big, but it's another thing to actually see it, feel it, to experience it like you're actually there on the landing pad. I'll spend some time talking a bit more about this later, where I talk about what the experience is like, because I think it deserves some space to breathe. Before we get there, I need to first talk about what the experience is right now, and more importantly, what it isn't.
How many of you have played it on VR as Oz has? Put a 1 here in the chat if you've played it on VR currently. And if you are enjoying it, let us know as well. Just let us know your experiences here.
So first of all, that word experimental actually matters.
Bro.
This isn't a finished VR implementation for the game, and it's not trying to be at this moment.
Well, we know
what we're seeing here is a result of a small group of developers at CIG pushing this forward largely as a passion project. In some cases, on their own time outside of regular work hours, to explore what VR could look like inside a game as complex and demanding as Star Citizen. So this isn't VR chat, there's no full body tracking, no hand presence, no controller-based interaction yet. Your head is effectively just glued to your character's shoulders, which means you're still gonna be relying on your normal inputs to play the game using mouse and keyboard or controller or flight sticks if you've got them. You can look around freely, but you're still fundamentally playing Star Citizen the way you always have, just now effectively with your head stuck into the 3D world of the game. That said though, once you get used to it, the immersion does settle in and it becomes surprising.
Of course it would. I mean, this is a dream come true. This would inspire me to save up for a headset and start playing in VR. It looks fantastic. I mean, I'm trying to imagine the way that it would make me feel, and I literally think I would be in Star Citizen longer than I already am, which is a great portion of my time. It would be even more unhealthy. Everybody else would think it would be unhealthy. Me, I think it's about the healthiest thing ever, man. Get me inside a game and please let me escape reality for as long as possible. Keep me in the holodeck. If I was on the Enterprise, if I was in Star Trek, man, you could find me in the holodeck. I would. I don't even care that it would be that far in the future. I would still be in the holodeck. That is where I would spend all my time. Please stay away, real world. Let me enjoy the holodeck, please.
It's really easy to forget about the limitations of the current implementation. You're no longer just looking at Star Citizen. You feel like you're sitting in the cockpit or walking out onto the tarmac below your Carrack. It is spectacular. Another thing I need to disclose with you guys before going any further is that I want to be very clear and transparent about one thing. Pimax did...
I am fine not eating real steak as long as it tastes like steak. You know, I do also have a soul patch like that gentleman. Let me just please leave me alone and let me eat this steak and think that is actually steak, okay? Lie to me, please. What's up, Rock? Thanks for following, man. Yeah.
Sponsor this video by providing a headset. They reached out and sent me a Crystal Super and asked me to make a video talking about my experience with it. There were no requirements attached to it. Thanks for being here tonight, everybody. Editorial control. They just said, make one, provide your opinion. Obviously, though, they are providing hardware, which can influence my recommendations, so I want to state that clearly up front. Everything you're hearing, though, is reflecting my genuine experience, for better or worse. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk a bit about setup, because this is one area where people are mostly likely to bounce off if they're not prepared. Because this feature is still experimental, there are multiple systems involved. The headset, the VR runtime, Star Citizen itself, they don't always communicate cleanly right away from what I've been seeing in a lot of text channels on Discord and on the forums around this new feature. In my case, the Pimax OpenXR runtime didn't immediately work for Star Citizen, and it took some trial and error to realize that I needed to switch my active VR runtime over to Steam VR before launching the game. So if you've got Steam, download Steam VR for your headset. It might be the way to fix it if you're running into issues. Once I did that, Star Citizen detected the headset correctly and VR started behaving as expected. This doesn't appear to be a headset-specific case. There are some reports suggesting that VR works across a variety of different headsets right now, not just one brand, so you don't need Pimax to play, but you may need to spend some time getting everything aligned. There's one more troubleshooting point then that is especially important: super sampling. A lot of VR games are built from the ground up as a VR game with relatively well-optimized graphics. Star Citizen is not one of those games. It is notorious for not running super well on a lot of modern rigs, so you shouldn't expect it to run particularly well on your rig with VR. Now, the problem I ran into was that Steam VR was automatically setting my per eye resolution to a super sampling high resolution far beyond the native resolution of the headset. In my case, it was pushing close to twice the resolution per eye, which is 3840 by 3840, at nearly 8K resolution per eye. That's effectively a 16K render target for the game. Well, you can pretty much guess what happened after that. It didn't run, it kept crashing. So if you guys are having crashing problems, that might be your problem for some reason. Steam automatically sets to super sampling. So while Steam in VR, you'll need to pop into your VR settings and manually set down your per eye resolution to whatever your native eye resolution is, or around that. You can go a little bit higher if you want, but you're just gonna get lower frame rates if you try that. Thankfully though, the game...
I have not had the opportunity to really sink my teeth into VR properly. I have a friend who has an Oculus, and I got to play a boxing game, and man, I was like out of breath. I loved it. I was dancing all around the room. I had a blast. It was last New Year's. I should have filmed it for everybody because you all have been laughing at me. And man, I was like in the game, and I took the headset off, and I was like, Tony, dude, I'm like, this would be dangerous for me to have. I don't think I'd ever take the damn headset off. So for those of you that are lucky enough to have like a headset, I know it's addictive. I know right off the bat it's addictive. And there's a part of me though that I think I'm going to make it a 2026 thing. I feel like I'm missing out.
Does currently have DLSS, so you can run with 66% quality like I did, which will give you a few more frames, which I definitely think you need when you're playing in VR to stop yourself from becoming overly nauseated.
Totally, Sarah.
Which leads me to another thing I need to talk about, and that's setting clear expectations for performance. For what you're seeing on screen when I'm showing you guys the VR videos, which is going to be kind of the weird high FOV views where my head's moving around a little bit quicker, I'm putting in some footage that's not VR just so that you guys get a sense of immersion, since it's hard to communicate in 2D what's happening.
Most likely,
but when you see those, that's my actual performance in-game, the weird aspect ratio, the big FOV that you're seeing. And I'm running a 9950 X3D with 64 gigs of DDR5.
How many of you don't have VR but want it? put a 1 in chat right now. I'm kind of curious. Like I'm going to put a 1 myself. Like how many of you don't have it, but really want the VR? Yeah. See, you see, there's such demand for it. There's a lot of us who just have not gotten around to it. Don't you find that a little interesting that there's so many people that want the VR, but they just haven't gotten around to it because of the price? What's up, Aries? Long time no see. Good to see you. What's up, Parker? Good to see you as well. It's nice to see you guys back home here. Bingo Winchester. Holy moly. Good to see you. There's a lot of names in here that I'm recognizing. I haven't seen him forever. Let's hear it for him. Welcome back home, boys. Good to see you guys. Yeah, like I really think there's so many of us that for whatever reason, maybe it's the price or we're just lazy, that we want the VR, but we just have not taken that step. Some of us, like maybe myself, are worried that we'll just never escape, that we will stay in the escape. Let me reword that. That we'll put it on and we'll never, people will be tapping us on the shoulder. We'll think it's somebody in the game. Bah! Oh my God, Devin, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, my son.
6,000 mega transfers and an MSI Supreme RTX 5090. So I effectively have one of the best systems you can buy right now. And even with that hardware, it's still struggling to maintain consistently smooth frames in places like major cities and dense landing zones. Space, orbital stations, and quieter areas tend to run a lot better, but that's always been the case. So if you're planning to run VR, as it's always been the case for VR, you're probably going to want to make sure you're running a pretty high-end system, at least a 4000 series GPU from NVIDIA, or ideally a 5000 series to get the best experience you can get right now for Star Citizen VR. All right, now with all of those caveats out of the way, which are really important and you shouldn't have skipped them, because if you have, you may have a lot of problems when you try to play in VR. Let's actually talk about the experience, the coolest bit. Where VR really shines in Star Citizen isn't just the raw visuals. It's actually, as it so turns out, in the scale. Now in 2D, I've always known that Star Citizen has some massive scale. It has huge, seamless worlds, but
Dude, this would be fantastic. Are you kidding me? In VR, the scale would like knock me off my socks. Literally, like Microtech, R-Corp, like these, oh my God, you would get lost. You would literally just get lost in such a fantastic way. Man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, Pepe. I know 2026 is going to be a VR year for me, I feel.
In VR, in 3D, oh my gosh. And the detail. They've always been obsessed in particular with the modeling down to the most absurd level of detail, like little nut fasteners and greebles, even like wear patterns to sell the realism of something in the universe. In VR, it feels like a natural extension of that philosophy. I think that's where the Pimax's Crystal Super really shines, because my only other VR headset I've ever owned was the HTC Vive 1, the first generation one, which had a lot lower resolution per eye. I think it was 1200 by 1200. This one's 4K by 4K, so all the detail just looks so good, and there's no screen door effect like there was before with the old headset. So after a bit, you just forget that you're wearing the headset and feel like you're in the game. Star Citizen's VR then, it's not adding any new mechanics so much as it's just removing that final layer of abstraction between you and this incredibly immersive realistic world. Walking up to ships I've seen for years, like the Carrack or the 400i or the F7A, gave me an entirely new appreciation for their proportions. The Carrack's interior genuinely feels homely and well-sized, much better than it felt when I was making my architect reviews on it. And the 400i feels way more spacious and luxurious than it ever did on a flat.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Diva's right. I'm going to need to upgrade like every single thing, and memory costs so damn much right now because of this AI data center thing going on. You know, I'm going to get fleeced. Ugh. Tech is so much right now. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Screen. I thought it looked a little bit cramped actually when I was making that review. It's actually really big. And the F7A, well, which most people think is not that big, like the size of an F18 maybe, is actually way bigger, like many times bigger. And you feel it when you're sitting in the cockpit in VR.
Oh, come on. I can just, I feel it. I feel it through the video. He did a great job on editing this. I'm literally feeling like I'm inside.
CIG has spent so much time detailing every part of ships, like the cockpit with all their little buttons and screens. You have so much to take in sitting in just something like an F7.8. It might not have a big interior, but boy does it have a detailed one to appreciate. And
this is what I'm talking about with Morphologis. This is the strangest thing. I do not agree with a lot of his opinions, but the second he does any footage of like the interiors of ships, the way he cuts it, the way, you know, these architect series types of ships, it's a good series. You know, like I can flow with these types of videos that Morph does, but when he starts talking about gameplay, I or the development or his opinions on Cloud Imperium and the development, there's a lot of times we disagree. But when he does videos like this, this is really where he shines.
how you can appreciate it more than ever. Honestly, I've been spending a lot of the time in VR just looking around the ships that I've known for years to just see what I feel differently about them when I see them in what looks to be like reality.
I hope so, Dibley.
And it's been worth it. I haven't gone through all of them yet, but I'm itching to just go through them because it has been so cool. As you might expect though, things get way more exciting when you actually fly out with one of them. Looking out the viewport onto the planet below, watching clouds and terrain roll past beneath you, flying like the Mirage ship class, for example, with glass canopies where you can actually see what's below you while you're flying between mountains or buildings carries a sense of speed and spatial awareness that just simply can't translate to 2D.
Oh my God.
And while like I said, it doesn't offer any mechanical improvements on the game, it offers something I didn't expect, and that's depth perception, which makes judging things like distance feel way more natural, especially when you're doing things like racing or flying at low altitude. I felt like I could cut corners way closer than I could before because I can see where the geometry is, where it's coming up on me, and I'll know if I'm going to hit it. Whereas before, it'd be kind of hard to judge, and you just need to get a lot more experience.
I'm telling you, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Rev, how you doing, buddy? 38 months like a boss. Love you, bro. Thanks for your love and support. Couldn't do it without you that are supporting this show and supporting this community. Don't forget, we are having a giveaway that we will call the winners to the 2 prizes on Christmas Day. So if you guys are interested in that, you want to get into all of our giveaways we have on the channel, then just go there, become either a YouTube member or a patron. Thank you so much, Rev. I got to tell you, I'm going to break down. I'm going to have to save some serious amount of cash and update the PC, memory, the whole thing. I'm going to need an upgrade on the GPU. I'm just going to have to. Oh man. There's a lot of saving that's going to have to happen in 2026, man. I got to wait on the memory prices. I know we were just talking about that, Rev, right when you came in here. Blade says he didn't expect depth perception. That's a key feature of VR. I don't know if Morph has done a lot with VR. I'm not quite sure what his experience with VR is. I don't have a lot of VR time. The VR time I did have was just crazy addictive.
With a ship to get used to its size. In combat, I also found that the situational awareness improvement has also been greatly improved because you can look around a lot more instinctively instead of relying entirely on camera controls. Once Star Citizen's 3D radar and holographic UI elements are properly adapted for VR, I think this will become even more pronounced, as you'll really be able to read where ships are relative to you, even if you can't see them directly. And it is a special feeling to be able to turn into the ship you're fighting, looking up through the canopy at it as you bring the nose around and the weapons to bear and pull the trigger to finally get that satisfying kill. Now on the ground, things are a little bit more mixed. Flying with my usual dual sticks setup feels really natural in VR because I'm seated in the game as I am seated in real life. But on foot, you have to use mouse and keyboard, which does take some time to adjust to. Your weapons move independently to your head in the game right now, which is necessary to avoid nausea. It can feel a bit strange at first, but there is an option to link your head movement more directly, but that means you have to move your mouse and your head moves with your mouse, and it can be a little disorienting. Aiming down sights then with the fixed head mode, which is the one I recommend, does take also some time getting used to. Iron sights are really hard to use in VR because the weapon is fully physicalized and comes very close to your face, like you're holding it in your shoulder. Holographic sights, on the other hand, then work extremely well. The reticule placement is actually accurate as its own turns out, and because the weapon actually fires rounds directly from the weapon and not from your chest or eyes like a lot of other video games, depending on where the weapon is actually aimed, that's where the rounds are actually going. So as long as you can look through something like the real weapon sights or through a accurate holographic weapon reticule, you'll actually hit what you're aiming at. So it's, once you get used to it, it's actually pretty fun and intuitive. The one downside right now to the game is that high magnification scopes currently don't work in VR due to how Star Citizen handles zoom by altering the field of view. It's a pretty common way for games to do it, and they've been doing it for years, but you probably haven't noticed this. This means that right now, they don't function properly. CIG is likely going to have to move forward to something like picture-in-picture scopes, like what we see in Escape from Tarkov, rather than FOV tricks to get these things to work. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure how we're ever going to have, sniper scopes in VR. Now, at risk at coming off as a bit of a page shill here, I think I do need to talk about the VR headset because
they gave it to me for covering it on this particular video. So I must shill this. Like, look at this man getting this headset for free. You think they gave this to him? I mean, holy moly. What'd you guys say this cost? $1,800? Whoo, man. Is it a loan? Okay. Whoopsie says it's a loan. Man, oh man. But that morph privilege, man. He has got that morph privilege. He said that they did? Okay, I must have missed that. You know how things go over my head from time to time, as it is glossy and smooth.
Like me, some of you may be thinking about getting into VR and you might not be sure what to get. To be clear here, you don't need the Pimax Crystal Super that I'm using in this video to play the game. It works on a variety of headsets right now, so it's really up to you. I can only speak to my experience with this so far, versus my old Gen 1 HTC Vive, which is just like ancient technology compared to the Pimax. So I'll quickly go over some of the parts that I really liked and some of the things that I think could use improvement to give you some food for thought.
How much does that weigh, man? Man, that thing's crazy big. That thing is crazy big, man.
But whether or not you want to pick one up for yourself. The overall experience was really positive. I felt it was a very comfortable headset to wear. The padding that it comes with is comfy, and there's 2 pads that come in a kit, one for wearing glasses and one for out, though you can just swap them out to, clean one while you're using the other. They are fabric and washable at least, but you can get third-party clip-in lenses that are prescription, which is what I got. Very convenient, and I highly recommend them. Overall, the weight of the headset's not too heavy. I didn't really notice it. I think the whole mount system that they created is really well balanced. As stupid as it makes me look splitting my hair, I look like that Mugatu character that Will Ferrell plays in that old Zoolander movie. Oh my god. My friend tells me that there's no good way to look good while wearing a VR headset, though I'm sure some people can probably pull that off. It's a more modern headset, so it also uses inside-out tracking rather than using base stations like the Gen 1 headsets did. There's a big benefit to this in that you can basically go anywhere you want in your house to use it, so long as the cable is long enough. This is a cabled solution because it's very high resolution. But the downside to it is that if you set the headset down, it can lose tracking and you need to set it up again. Luckily, there's an inbuilt menu where you can very quickly reset it. It's just a little bit of a, faff when you have to. Tracking was also really good. I didn't notice anything bad about it. It didn't make me nauseous, which is great. A lot of earlier headsets I know had that problem. This one doesn't seem to, but I also think it's because the refresh rate and resolution are also so much better than earlier first-gen headsets.
Thank you everybody for
So if you did want to get the headset that I'm using in this video, the Crystal Super, then you can use my code Morpho80 here on the screen to get $80 off. You can click on the link down below to use that. Otherwise, if you want a different headset, you can just use code Morpho, which will also give you a discount up until December 31st. And if you guys have any questions about it, feel free to ask me down below. I'd love to answer any you might have that I didn't cover in the video. Or if you ended up getting one, let me know what your thoughts are on it so far. Right now then, Star Citizen VR is not something I'd recommend for everyone. It's demanding, it's unfinished, and it requires a bit of patience, both in setup and performance tuning. But if you have the hardware and the curiosity and the willingness to deal with the rough edges, it offers something genuinely special, something genuinely you don't want to miss out on. What stood out to me most wasn't just the novelty, it was the renewed sense of presence in the game. Seeing familiar ships as if for the first time again, and feeling the scale of planets, interiors, and space. It's been something I've been really struggling to describe here in words for you, so I hope I did a good enough job.
Let's do it with sound effects. Get ready to get your mind blown. Yeah, I really do. I really want to experience this in VR. Last week we watched, I can't remember the guy's name, apologies, but we watched a VR video when it just landed. The news just landed last week on last Thursday's stream. We watched this one guy play in VR, and do you guys remember the UI was horrible looking, and like chat was everywhere and everything was bobbling everywhere. And I said, "Oh, this guy's brand new, and I'm sure you're going to be able to take that messy UI off." And there's a mod that Sylvan, by the way, is the gentleman that's doing the work. Let's hear it for Sylvan. Like, he's doing so much good work for Cloud Imperium. Sylvan, man, I can't tell you how grateful that citizens are that you put this kind of work in on Saturdays. Sylvan actually spent Saturdays putting this together for years, putting this patch, being able to put the VR in this particular patch and allowing people to have these experiences is primarily in large part to Sylvan. I told Chris Roberts himself on my stream, I know you watch, he's got to, at least. I don't know if he still does. But I told Chris to give this man a raise and to give him his own team. Like, literally, Sylvan does great work. He needs his own team. He needs a raise, and he needs to keep working on this so that it's updated along with the patches. I really believe that. And the fact that people are having these experiences right now, it's great. You saw the amount of demand from the fans here tonight. You saw all the ones in the chat right now, how people don't have VR, but they really want to have VR. This could be like a stepping stone into getting a VR headset and trying Star Citizen out in VR. For me, it's working. Like, I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, man, I really, really feel like I need VR.
There's a lot to also see improved. The UI could use some better adaptation, curved and maybe better depth-aware HUD elements, scalable interfaces, and more natural body tracking, and eventually controller-based interaction would all go a long way to making this feel a little bit more immersive.
I mean,
and I'm sure
just for the views, man, just for the aesthetics too, to realize the scale, to fully realize the scale. This is exactly what we talked about in 2016 when we were talking about VR. Again, we were talking about this so very, very long ago.
none of that's going to be easy or happen very quickly, so we're going to probably have to wait for a little bit to see that kind of stuff come into Star Citizen. But even in its early state, VR feels like it belongs in Star Citizen. It might not be finished, it might not be optimized, but it's a glimpse of something that one day could feel like the most natural way to play Star Citizen. Yeah, so have you checked out Star Citizen VR? If you have, what's your experience like? And don't forget, if you're looking to get a VR headset, you can check out my link in the description.
Well, that was a good video. That was actually a very, very well done video. Finger says, open a VR arcade and capitalize the hardware. I gotta say something to you. There is a video, if you go to our channel, where one of our members found a free VR arcade. If you go to my channel, DG360, and you type in VR arcade, you should be able to find that. And in the description, there is a VR. If you have a VR headset, you can click on it. It's free. And you walk around an old school VR arcade playing like old school arcade games. And it's fantastic. It had like old school Tron. What else did it have in there? Spy Hunter, like all the old games from like the 80s, Donkey Kong, Smash Brothers. It had a lot. Dig Dug. It had some pinball games on it. I haven't tried it out, but you guys should check it out. It's actually quite cool. Fingers reminded me that we had that video. That was done a couple years ago. We were talking about that.